Thank you so much for staying tuned. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television. Today on the program, we'll attempt to take a look at the Nigerian youth and their quest for good leadership. Can we marry youth and quest for leadership? What are some of the qualities that young people look out for in their leaders? And as aspiring leaders themselves, what are some of those qualities that they also exhibit as young leaders that they would also like to either have recreated in the older ones or they bring into bear in that sphere of contacts? We do have with us in the studio this morning a youth advocate. He's also a public affairs analyst, Oni Olalikon. Thank you for being here on the program.
Thank you.
Today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Let's start this way. You are a young person, and of course, as we speak, the population of Nigerian youth is one that is more than 50%, meaning that as we speak, there is a surge in the number of young people that we do have. And I know from time and time again, we've always heard young people say, oh, our leaders do not have the requisites to lead us the way we want to be led. And younger people saying, oh, the older ones are not listening to our ideas. They are not sharing. We're not on the same pedestal. So as a young person yourself, let's start this way. What are some of the things that young people look out for in a leader? Well,
first of all, let me say that the quest for good leadership by young people is legitimate. And I said that to say because there is a burden on leadership. If you become a leader, you are expected to provide, a good leadership. You're expected to show by example. You're also expected to lead by example and with integrity. Some of the things young people, I myself inclusive, request from leadership is first of all integrity. And what integrity means here is that if you say that you are a leader, you should lead by example. If you say you are a leader, there is a burden on you to provide, whatever you have said in the past. For example, if you are looking for a position of leadership, there's something you say to people that if peradventure I have the opportunity to lead you, this is what I am going to do, based on the organization you want to lead, based on the society or whatever, in any area you want to lead. And so people expect, and young people inclusive, expect that when you say this is what you will do, we expect that when you get there, you do it. And that's where integrity comes in.
Okay.
Also, it is also expected that leadership comes with the burden that I said, and the burden is that you inspire people, especially young people, people who are behind you. And this inspiration comes from how you lead, how you carry yourself, how you do what you are doing. Are you accountable? Accountability, I've mentioned integrity and accountability, and many other things that can inspire people who are coming from behind.
Okay.
It is better to lead by your actions than to say what, it's just like, it shouldn't be do what I say. It should be do what I do.
Okay.
That's how I expect that young people who are coming from behind can be inspired, and these are the expectations from young people to their leaders.
Right, so you've mentioned integrity. Oftentimes, when we talk about things like this, from the entirety of the population generally, a lot of people also have trust issues. Yes. Is that also one of the prerequisites that young people, and can you marry trust and integrity? Are they the same, or they're two different things entirely? We must trust you first. We must trust your words before we can even believe your integrity. So yes. Where is the place of trust when it comes to young people and aspiring leaders?
Well, trust comes from, for me, trust comes from antecedents. So if I'm going to trust you with a bigger task, you should have performed a smaller task. If you have wherever position of leadership you are aspiring to get into, where are you coming from? We can trust you by saying that you have delivered so. So if I have delivered this, you can trust me to deliver this.
Okay.
Bible talks about he who is faithful in little, much more will be committed into his hand. So if I have been able to deliver in a particular area, and this is one of the things I ask people to look out for. It is not just, I want to lead. What have you done before?
Okay.
Where have you led before? And I tell people that everywhere you are a leader.
Okay.
Even in classroom, you know, from our cradle to primary school, we usually have captains in classes, and then to secondary school and to higher institutions. So everybody has been saddled with the role of leadership,
Right.
no matter where you are.
I like that angle that you've just come from, which will lead me to my next question. Oftentimes when we say leadership, we concentrate in politics.
Yes.
And so how do we begin to change the narrative to mean that it can be encompassing? You do not have to be in politics before you're a good leader.
Exactly.
And so how do we begin to get that into the mindset of the young people that, okay, yes, leaders are there, leaders are in politics, but they do not necessarily have to be politicians?
Reorientation. We need to reorientate our young people, and I feel that's what we are doing this morning.
Okay.
And so, like I have said earlier, everywhere you find yourself, you are a leader, whether in the classroom, whether in your office, whether you're an artisan, self-employed, wherever you are. First of all, how are you leading yourself?
Okay.
You know, and if we have young people who are family men, how are you leading your family? People have different roles in their churches, in their mosque, and in different places, in their community. So you go to some streets, you have captains in some streets, you have youth organization. And so if we believe that, and just like you rightly said, when we say leaders, the focus shouldn't be on politicians alone.
Right.
You know, and if you look at it, politicians are a very small number of our society. People leading us in the political space are a very small number, very, very small. The percentage is very, very low. So what do we have next? We have the banking sector, we have insurance, we have different sectors.
Technology now.
And all of that. So how are we leading? If I'm a young person, I keep telling people that this generation of leaders that we have now presently, very soon, they will, you know,
They will go.
They will go. And so those of us that are coming behind, what are we doing presently?
Okay.
Can we be trusted? Even in banking sector, the current leadership will go.
Right.
Other sets will come in. In churches, the present ones will go and others will come in. So where we are presently, how are we leading?
No.
You know?
Okay, Nigerian youths are diverse.
Yes.
Nigerian youths have different orientation.
Yes.
You have a cluster of people who would have the same beliefs. You have others who will say, no, we do not believe in that. And Nigeria is complex and it is wide. So how do we begin to harness the number? Again, like I said at the beginning, over 65% of Nigeria's population is young people. And if we're talking about a shift, a generational shift, and we have identified the fact that this current crop of politicians will go. Either they die or they move on to the next level.
Yes.
So are the young people who are on board right now, do they have that mindset? Are they also well positioned to lead themselves, either in politics, either in
tech,
humanities,
entertainment,
all sectors?
Yes.
Do we have the crop of young people who are also who have that mind shift to make a difference at the moment?
Well, unfortunately, we could say no, but for me, it is not too late because, and this is where the current leadership has to come in. You know, the other time we talked about inspiration. So, and we also said that it shouldn't be do as I say. It should be about do as I do. You know, one of the ways to mentor people is that if your protege needs to see what you are doing and you can't even hide it. So, and that's where the current leadership has to come in. They need to inspire the next generation. Where you are presently, what are you doing? How are you doing what you are doing? And it has to be intentional. And so it is not only about, you know, watch me, what I do. You have to, when I say intentional, you have to sit down, talk to young people, you know, mentor them and, you know, carry them along in whatever you are doing.
Okay.
Because like we said, there will definitely be a generational shift. Some people were there yesterday. We have another crop of leaders today. So the present leadership needs to do more in mentoring the upcoming with good things, in carrying them along. It is very, very important.
So in what you've said now tasking this present administration or present crop of leaders to do more, would you say that the proposed confab, youth confab that Mr. President mentioned in his October 1 speech, which he said will last for 30 days, do you see that as a starting point where young people can be pulled together under one roof and then they sit, they formulate their policies, they talk about the things that they want in governance? Is that a right step in the right direction? Is that a good way to start from?
Yes, and in fact, for me, it is not even the first step by this administration. If you look at during the campaigns in 2022 and early 2023, one of the part of the Renewed Hope policy was that the president promised that there will be youth inclusion. And I think he gave a percentage of a number of youths that will be involved. And the president has actually fulfilled that promise. So I feel that, first of all, like I said, carry the youth along, bring them closer to the table where decisions are made. That's what the present administration has done, which is the first step. And, you know, and that's where it comes. And that's why I said that the leaders need to do more. It is not about coming to me and telling me that, do this, do this. Involve me, you know, test me, test the young people, put them in positions of power. Put them on the table where decisions are made, one way or the other. And that's the best way to learn, you know, learning on the job. And you tell them, okay, this is where you have made the mistake, do it right this way, and all of that. So we have, like, almost for the first time, we have youth manning the Ministry of Youth, even in Lagos State. So when you have all of these things, they will learn on this job. And, you know, the next time you are giving them a bigger opportunity, they will do well. So the confab is actually also a very good welcome development for me, and I believe for every youth in Nigeria, where you can formulate your policy yourself. Not that a 60-something-year-old man will tell you this is what we are doing for you. No, come and say it yourself. Okay.
So for you, what would be the criteria that you would wish that is the approach to choose the people that will be part of this confab? Because again, like I said, Nigeria is diverse, Nigeria is big, and sometimes when you want to be inclusive, you draw yourself into a big problem. And so, in your own personal opinion, what would you suggest? How would you want the membership of that confab? Would you advise that it be done geopolitical zones, or how do you think it will be inclusive enough so no zone will be left out or no youth will be left out?
Well, personally, I believe that, you know, Nigeria has federal constituencies across, and we have 360 thereabout members of representatives across the country. So I don't know how many people they are expecting to choose, how many participants is expected to grace the confab. But I believe that if you give these MHRs and give them some criteria, and the criteria is this: I don't want to see youth confab where you have 60-something years old man. And
so there has to be an age limit.
Yes, I believe it should be.
Would you bring their birth certificate to show?
No, when you say 60-something years old man, when you say a young person, you will know. So it is important that we have this criteria. That criteria I just mentioned is very important. And don't politicize it. Okay. Because when you do, at the end of the year, you find people who go to youth confab to just go and play. Yes. So this criteria is important, that you choose across the geopolitical zones, and probably you choose across these federal constituencies. Okay. And when you have all of these, you have all-inclusive, you know, young people, and very important, don't take a 60-something-years-old man to a confab.
Yeah, youth has to be a youth.
It has to be a youth, and this in fact, I suggest that they should be screened. When they get to Abuja.
That's why I said, should they bring their birth certificates?
No, but at least when you see a young person,
you will know.
So very important that it's a youth confab.
Give or take for you, because I mean, this is the second or third time you've talked about don't bring a 60-something-year-old man. What should be the age limit? I mean, give or take.
Maximum of 40.
Maximum of 40.
Yes. Maximum.
Are you young? You're over 50.
Maximum of 40 years.
Maximum of 40.
Yes, I
okay.
believe.
Adebimpe, you have a contribution, or that was just an aside? Oh, okay, all right. So maximum of 40
yes.
for you should cut it.
Yes.
Should cut it, okay. But then, since we're still talking about the quest for good leadership, you've also hammered on something here, do as I do,
yes.
and not do as I say. We've also gotten to that place in Nigeria where our politics is largely about money, money politics.
Yes.
Believe it or not, you looked at me like, okay, money politics in Nigeria is high, is big. And we have young people who are rooting for a change. Now, we're also beginning to see young people wanting to toe that path of, I also want to chop. Those that are there are refusing to leave because there is something there. So let's also be part of those that will share the national cake. If we continue in that mindset and follow through like that, are we ever going to get good leadership?
No, we won't. I say that one of my fears about development in Nigeria is that our politics or campaign or elections are too expensive. And when we continue to have this very expensive electioneering process or campaign process, I'm afraid we might not have the development that is expected. Because at the end of the day, you find out that people who get into offices now sees it as business. And business means that I've spent XYZ amount of money. Yes. And so, you know, it's a two-way thing for me. And this is where the electorate comes in, either the youth or the aged or whoever, whatever your age is, whatever strata of the society you are in, it comes to them. So you see politicians approach people and say that, please vote for me. This is who I am. This is where I'm coming from. And the next question people ask is that, what did you bring for us? And politicians want to win elections.
Yes.
So because politicians want to win elections, they give you what will make you vote for them. And when you vote for them in turn, they also get there, want to recoup their money. So it's a two-way thing. Can we talk about trust? Can we talk about antecedents? When people come to you, when people approach you, you find out that people can't win elections without bringing a money bag. And who are the voters? The electorate. So when people come to us during campaigns and elections, either you're a young person, we should be able to volunteer and say that this person has a good antecedent. We can trust you. We will vote for you. And if you get there and you mess up, the next 4 years is almost here. I've asked people, when they come to you and give you 50,000 naira, that's the maximum they can give for a vote.
Right. Can they even give up to that?
I even said, that's the maximum they can give for a vote. So you're a young person, somebody attracts you, somebody calls you and woos you with 50,000. How many days are you going to spend the 50,000 on? You know, so it comes down to our young people should also, you know, be upright.
Okay.
When it comes to this leadership, when people come to you, let's also be upright. If you are demanding for good leadership, let's also, you know, be ready for it. Somebody said that if Nigeria gets better, many Nigerians may not survive it. That survival doesn't mean that they will cease to exist. But, you know, at the end of the day, how will some people cope?
Right.
Because the way we do our things, you know, it's, you know, shady and somehow. So we expect that if we want good leadership, we also should be ready to aid that good leadership.
We must be good followers.
We must be good followers. End bad governance. We should also end bad followership.
Okay, and that brings me to various initiatives by young people to express their grievances. We've had the ERS Movement.
Yes.
That has been taken over by the End Bad Governance Movement. Yes. What are some of the things that you have seen as the bane why such movements may not stand the test of time? Some people have said, because again, those who are behind this movement have failed to, such movements have failed to have leaders that you can actually identify and speak with. But we also understand that there are other countries, Kenya is an example, where they've also, the voices of young people have been heard through initiatives such as movements like this. So for you, how can young people find their voices without necessarily taking to the streets and destroying public facilities?
One of the things I've seen so far in all of these movements is compromise. You know, we have seen that at the end of the day, sometimes people say it is a rumor, but those who have, you know, come out to say that they are the ones leading this movement, most of the times have always compromised. And that's one of the complaints of even people who have been part of this movement, that people come at the end of the day, they either from the opposition or from the ruling party, people collect money at the end of the day, and that weakens that movement. Having said that, I want to speak about the present government. I have seen over time that the present government is ready to dialogue. You know, apart from having even the NSAS, we saw what the Lagos State governor was able to do in few days when the NSAS movement started. You know, he was able to say, what do you have to, what do you want? What are your requests? What are your demands and all of that? And we could remember that the first demand were 5 demands, and then later moved to 21 and so on and so forth. So we have seen that, you know, we could use at least Lagos State, for example. The Lagos State governor, the leadership of Lagos State are ready to dialogue, are ready to listen and say that, okay, instead of you eating the streets, come with a few numbers of people, tell us what we want, and we are ready to do whatever. And even this confab that we are going to have, it's as a result of demands, you know, from the people, from young people, and say that, listen to us. And that's what the confab wants to achieve. So if you have leadership, if you have a government who is ready to listen to your demands, and we have also seen that at the end of the day, one of the yearnings of the youth is that don't just come and use us during campaign. We also want to be part of the process. Put us on the table, let's decide together. And that's what this present government has also done. That's why, you know, appointing young people into ministry, heading ministries and all of that. So if we have a leadership, if we have a government who is ready to listen to young people, why not toe that part instead of eating the streets?
Right. Can we also begin to advocate for more young people in politics? Because again, a lot of young people would have ideas, but would decide not to join any political party because they also believe that the parties are run by the older ones, and then they can't be part of it. But then you cannot make a change if you're not part of the process. And so what are your thoughts on joining, being not only card-carrying members of political parties, but actively being involved in the process of political parties?
Very important. You cannot be, you have to join. It's not enough to speak from outside. I also say that it is also not enough to wait till election time before you come. You see, decisions of who becomes what or who are not made on election day. What they give you is that at the end of the day, this is our candidate. The major process is within the political parties. So it is important. What they do at the end of the day is that the political party does their primaries, and after the primary, you are waiting. They will give you. Some will say that there's no difference between the devil and the deep blue sea. So at the end of the day, that's what they give you. So what you have to choose in between is at the end of the day. So come and be part of it. Join a political party, and that's how to make the difference. Nobody becomes the GMD of a bank from
the fringes.
No, it doesn't happen. You have to rise through the ranks. People start from, and that's how it is. So our young people should be ready to join from the grassroots. Probably from a zone to a ward level, to a local government level, to a state level, and so on and so forth. Almost everybody you find in the political space today, almost everybody, started from, from the scratch. And they rose through the rank and file before they become anything. So you don't just complain. People should come. Come on. And people will say that they will steal for us. Our ideas, they are more than us. No, they are not more than you.
So, because I know that political parties, they also have their youth wings. They have, of course, the youth also forming part of those political parties. But can we also begin to advocate for forming of alliances by young people who may have the same ideas, but not necessarily in the same political party, but also advocating, what good leadership should be all about, and not towing the path of mudslinging fighting
Exactly.
and things like that. Is this the best time to also start building alliances of young people,
Yes.
advocating for their strong voices against issues that they deem as not right in the society?
Let me say that one of the things I feel young people should do right now is to infiltrate these major political parties. I can tell you for free that the numbers are few.
Okay.
The political
Are
parties.
you in a political party yourself?
Yes, I am.
You are in APC?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
So the numbers are very few in the political parties. Party members are few. If you look at the numbers, we are in Ikeja, for example, the numbers are very few. So young people...
So those numbers are not intimidating?
At all.
Go
At
ahead.
all. The numbers outside are much more intimidating. For example, if you want to know, go and check figures of votes in a local government election. Because, you know, majority of the people have actually left it to the parties to do whatever they want to do with the local government elections, for example. In a local government election, a local government can have maybe altogether 15,000 or 20,000 votes. In fact, wherever you have 20,000 votes, that's massive.
Wow.
In a whole local government. And go and check the number of PVCs. So people leave all of these things to politicians.
Right.
And then you have the numbers outside.
I mean, it's safe to say you're a politician yourself.
No.
Okay. You're not a politician, but a young person in politics.
Yes, maybe.
Okay. All right, maybe. So how are you influencing those who you see as your friends or those who you see as colleagues who can also make a difference in politics? Because if you think that the numbers are few and then you cannot achieve much by that number, what are you doing? How are you getting to the conscience of young people around you to ensure that they are also part of the process? Because if you're not part of the process, then you cannot complain.
You cannot.
Right.
And
so
when you complain, you can only complain. You cannot
can't do
influence.
anything.
And it is about... so people have said that our governance system is so bad, but how do we change it? It's by participating. So over the years, I have friends who are professionals. I have friends who are businessmen, and I've also told them that, come, it is not even as difficult as people think. It is difficult.
It's a problem, convincing them.
Yes, it has been a problem, but some will come and say, what are they doing in this place? Because when you go for political meetings, it looks to you as if it's a waste of time.
Okay.
But that's where decisions are being made over time. So I've always encouraged people to come. First of all, you are much more than the politicians, one. And I also know, that politicians actually listen to people within, rather than, castigating them online, mudslinging and insults and all of that. When you have a meeting, when you are in a meeting, they are also open to ideas.
Right.
And at the end of the day, most times, maybe some of the ideas they get are not the best, but they have to make a decision. So sometimes these people make decisions on the bad, so-called bad or advices. So if we have people who are knowledgeable, people who are exposed, people who are have the good intellect and good advice, they will take all of these things, and one way or the other, all of this advice will find their way into governance.
Okay. Can we also begin to harness the social media for all these things that we've talked about? Because again, young people are very effective on the socials,
yes.
And we also have very uncouth young people on that platform as well, that, before you say anything, they have sent you to your father's house. Over that, can we begin to also use the social media as an advantage to further make this conversation a little larger than it is?
We have seen in a few years, we've also seen the impact of social media on our governance. We've seen where a policy is being made and people, the social media outcry has made leaders, to reverse
some
such
of those policies.
And that's a good pointer to the fact that young people can take advantage of social media in a positive way. If you look at it, when you insult, when you mudsling, when you abuse, when you defame, it doesn't result to anything. It doesn't result to good governance as well. If you are saying that our leaders are not doing well, you know, and we want a change? Is it about insulting? So we can also take the advantage of that social media, that strength on social media, to make and ask for a change, you know, consistent change. If you see anything, like I have said, we've seen a lot of policies or a lot of decisions being reversed because of social media outcry. We can continue in that path and see that, you know, that desired change that we want in our country.
Right, and so this is your camera. I'd like for you to, this is your camera. I'd like for you to address young people this morning who are watching you. What will be your final words to young people this morning? A lot of people think that it is about the protest, it is about the insults, it is about not joining alliance, it is not about believing in Nigeria. What will be your advice to young people this morning, and how can young people be part of the change process?
All right. Most importantly, I will advise young people to, you know, participate in politics, especially because when we talk about governance, that's where decision is being taken. It is not enough to shout from outside. Be part of the process. And like I've earlier said, when you are part of it, leaders listen to you from within, and also take positive advantage of the social media. We can achieve a lot. You know, you can suggest from the social media, these leaders listen, they check the social media pages and all of that. And also very important that, like I've said, I've asked, protest does not solve any issue. If you have leadership, if you have a government, if you have an administration who listens, it is better to dialogue than to ease the streets and protest.
All right, many thanks for that final word, Olalekan, youth advocate and public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for coming on the program today. We appreciate your thoughts. We've been speaking with our guest this morning, and of course, in his final appeal, of course, you heard him talk to young people this morning. It is not about talking, it is not about protest, it is about being part of the process, being part of the change process. And you can start today by joining a political party and making your voice heard. We'll take another break. When the conversation returns, Adibigwe and Joy will take it from here.